Hey everyone. Hey, thanks for being here. Really appreciate everyone tuning in and the support for what I posted yesterday on Twitter regarding what we were going to be talking about today. So it is going to be controversial. There are probably going to be people who are going to be listening who are going to be upset. I really would just like to start off by saying that I am very much a fan of hexagons, the hex community. It's been great to work with all of you, and so I want you to know that everything that I am saying, I'm saying because I care about you and I care about other people who are involved in cryptocurrency and just people in general. And then I also would really like to encourage anyone, if you're starting to feel upset during the stream, to please hear me out until the end before you completely write me off. I feel like I've been working with you guys for, I don't know, a year and a half now, and I have earned I've earned the right and respect to be heard out. Okay, so I'm gonna be looking at my notebook too. I really have a lot to cover. Okay, so this is going to be related to the Eric Wall and Kyle Barr podcast that came out last week and that a lot of people have been upset about. Now, I wasn't upset by the podcast. I enjoyed listening to it. I thought that there were interesting discussions going on. But it's not the podcast that I really want to talk about. It's the community's collective response to it. So things had been getting a lot better within Hex. Like people, listened and understood that the really, angry tribal behavior was not winning anyone new over. And then this happened, and it feels like everything just slid back. Like we just slid, back to 6 months ago or a year ago, or whenever things were really bad. I don't have all of the time, really in physical or in order. But so Eric, said several things during the podcast, and one of them really was that being a part of the Hex Pulse community, being a vocal advocate for it, was just something that was not going to benefit him in any way. So he wasn't going to do it. A lot of people took other things like questions that he asked, and I will say he asked a lot of questions about Richard, specifically, though he did support why he felt like he needed to ask those questions. So as a result, I think you guys may know there have been there's been a lot of response, okay? There have been physical threats of violence against him. That is never okay. There have been just name calling, nasty meanness, just like the maxis, just like the Bitcoin maximalists did to you guys. Okay, and to some degree, it's understandable that a community that gets marginalized will become, will internalize and adopt some of those behavioral patterns. That it's normal, but that doesn't mean that it's okay. Not if you're going to continue to berate Bitcoin maximalists and Ethereum maximalists and whatever other people for being toxic, not unless you at least realize that a lot of these behaviors and traits have carried over. Another thing is that there are people who have said that Eric doesn't know about money and that he's proven that he's not educated in markets. So I'm going to come back to this. But on top of that not being true, Eric is a finance professional and has been since he was under 30 years old. He's this chief investment officer of a hedge fund. You don't get there without having knowledge about money and markets. So those accusations are not only false, they're also slander. All right. Someone said that Eric's fund underperformed Bitcoin and ETH. That's also not true. In a very recent quarterly report, you can see that even with the economic turndown in the market, the fund that Eric manages has outperformed the market by 30%. Richard respects Eric. You know, they have like an ongoing dialogue and friendship. I mean, in my own live stream on Wednesday, and this is the most important thing that I can say, my own live stream on Wednesday with RG and Gary, they were talking about Eric not knowing about money and markets. I wasn't prepared to have that conversation because I wanted to have a discussion about why it is that the people who, you know, have followings are supposed to be responsible for what their audience believes and for excluding people from participating in their audience. That said, I still should have said something in the live stream. I shook my head as though I agreed with them, and I didn't. And I am truly sorry. And also, thank you very much for bringing my attention to the hypocrisy that even I was displaying. Thank you. All right. So now let's move on to Eric. Eric gave me something that I could share with you all. He was sharing with me some of the live streams, some clips from live streams that people have posted over the last few days about him. And then he said, I wonder what these guys would say if they knew that before Pulse Chain existed, Richard came to me to ask if it was technically feasible, and I did the initial technical groundwork that showed it was possible for free. And now they say I'm lying about Pulse being a Binance Smart Chain fork, codebase-wise. There is a public repo. You can see it for yourself. And Richard's question to me was literally, can I fork BSC and insert the Ethereum state? And now they say I am intentionally demonizing the project just by using Richard's words. So unfair. I agree. Next is going to be what Kyle had to say. So I got a quote from Kyle. I have permission to use this. And it's long, guys. All right. So Kyle says, I've refrained from commenting on the Eric podcast because I was really hoping people would let it go and or realize how innocuous it was. The one time I did discuss it, he seemed very sensitive already, so I just stopped. I don't ever intend to alienate people. Not only is it cruel, it's just not useful. Everyone is capable of changing their mind, so always leave the door open to that. But we've hit a point where the viciousness is not subsiding, so I want to share these thoughts. I enjoyed my conversation with Eric. Clearly, we share an enormous amount of common ground and interest in the technology and tenets of cryptocurrency. He was audibly excited that we shared perspective broadly on DeFi, journalistic integrity around crypto, and the possible paths forward to scale our infant industry. Eric has expressed, I think, quite clearly that he has some working concepts of money/value creation which don't align with the Hex community at large. He posited how the Hex game should play out and that it remains essentially value neutral. This is a point of disagreement, certainly, but disagreements are normal and healthy. Even if it were motivated, reasoning, personal dislike of Richard, that's fine. It's his opinion. I also don't think this is some sort of mental obstruction. He doesn't hate Richard. They talk. Richard doesn't need any of us to defend his personal relationship with anyone, lovers, haters, or otherwise. Furthermore, Eric continues to participate in the Hex chat rooms. He didn't swoop in, try to dunk on me, and fly away. He's trying to participate, even in spite of getting a huge ration of crap from the community. I want to think the community could notice this. It's been very frustrating to see endless diatribes criticizing Eric's lack of vision when it seems to me that many are blind to what's right in front of them. Folks have harped on him for not letting me finish points or rebuttals during the talk. I'll just say that I don't feel that way. I've been in actual adversarial technical discussions, and it doesn't go like that. Eric is passionate about his points of view. Many of us are. I thought we had a great conversation, and my only regret about it is that we had to do the last hour separately due to my scheduling. It's just the nature of conversation that sometimes not every point gets answered in the moment. In a better world, we have multiple conversations, and over time, everything gets addressed. This is partially why I wanted to call it a conversation rather than a debate. Conversations are iterated. Debates have winners and losers. On the subject of format, this was framed as a debate. I told Eric ahead of time and continue to push that it was not a debate. It was a free-form conversation that happened to be recorded. Debates are not helpful for exactly the reason I stated in the recording. It doesn't reach the truth. It showcases the speakers. I wanted to get to know Eric and his points of view. I wanted him to get to know me, and especially see that hexagons come from different places. Y'all make this hard when the tribalism comes out. I'm proud of what we've done in the hex community, who we are, what we do for ourselves and for others. I want to show people those parts. I want people to see us and be inspired to do better, even if it doesn't mean buying hex. I want to welcome other points of view and either convert or reach détente. We are not maximalists. We should not act like maximalists. Richard is not a maximalist. Eric asked why not fold hex's model into Pulse? Because we are not maximalists. I understand that we've endured a lot of harassment and shunning and vitriol from the outside world. It's hard not to give some back. It's hard to look forward and ignore detractors, but we have to try. We have to always try to be to the outside world who we are for each other. We are hexagons, and even if Eric will never call himself that, I'd love to have him nearby. Hexagon curious, maybe. In my vision for us, we're like a massive planet and the objects in its orbit. We cannot be ignored at this point, and we need not be destructive. Just let people orbit us. Maybe they never get pulled in by our gravity. That's fine. Life is long. Give it time. So that's what Kyle had to say. I think that it was perfect. I couldn't possibly have said it better. Thank you, Kyle, for writing that to me, writing that for me, and for letting me share that. I really appreciate it. So guys, your best friends are the ones who will tell you the hardest truths. Hexagons have become what we hate most. It's time to change now. Those who are still skeptical that I may have a point, I'd like to ask you to bear in mind that Hex is the 6th crypto community that I've been deeply embedded within. So I am speaking from experience when I say that this has happened before. So many have criticized my positions early on and later come around and told me that they realized at some point that I was right. And I'm not saying that I always am, because I'm certainly not. But I just want to remind you that there have been times, probably for many of you who are watching, when you've realized that something that I've said that you maybe disagreed with staunchly at first, at least had some element of truth, and I'd like you to consider that. On the topic of building bridges, is this bridging out and trying to establish relationships with people from outside communities, something that you would like for me to continue to do? It doesn't have to be answered right now. This is something that we can, talk about a little bit. It's something that I would like to continue doing. I really enjoy the challenge, and it's getting worse now. It was getting better. Just so you guys know, in these last 5 days since the podcast aired, I've had 3 guests cancel, saying that they didn't want to be a part of a community that treats people like that. One of them was the lead developer of a well-known IDO platform and liquidity locking service, who really wanted to build on Pulse and is now not interested. One was a mainstream financial journalist who has a very, very significant following. And one former guest expressed concerns about me not noticing the cultism that was happening in Hex. And I informed that person that, in fact, I do notice, and that I talk about it publicly regularly, despite the audience's response and despite the criticism that I draw because of it. So that's what's going on. so it's and by the way, it's not just this, Eric Wall incident. It's like coincidental and, proving that this is happening, not just in Hex, but also in Pulse, because I've received toxic DM emails and, messages from people who have Pulse as their name, not Hex, over me daring to express my personal opinion that conflicts with Richard's on social media, even though my profile doesn't have any reference to Hex or Pulse within it. And even if it did, it would still be my personal profile. And, there was one person who I kind of specifically called out, but that's not the only person who I've gotten that kind of email from. So you don't have a right to tell anybody else what their brand should be like. And particularly that they are doing harm to the community that they're a thought leader for, because their view counteracts the view of, the primary, the developer, or the, leading figure. Okay. So, we often there have been times, and I know sociologists have criticized Bitcoin specifically for the toxicity of the community, saying that the general perception of Bitcoiners is very negative, and that because of this, Bitcoin will never get the kind of adoption that it could have. I want you all to keep that in mind, as we are still pre-viral. I would hate for this to be going on when Hex goes viral. So this is not how I think that we want to be remembered. This is not how we want people to think of us. So here's the thing about building bridges. Like I said, I would like to keep doing it. I think that there are a lot of people watching or in other places who would like for me to keep doing it. But I can't keep building bridges if the community burns them down faster than I can build them. I will not expose my professional and personal network to, I will not feed my personal network to a bunch of people who are going to try to eat them alive. So if we are going to move forward, I need your help. I need everyone to, Joker, no, sorry. Okay, I'm not doing this. So I need your help if you would like for me to keep doing this. I need you to think about things, really think before you say them. And try to set aside the toxicity that you've internalized. Yeah. So that's everything that I wanted to cover. We don't need to make any decisions or anything immediately, but I do want us to start thinking about this. Like I said, I'm not going to be mad if you guys decide that, you disagree with me, so much that you don't want me to be representing the community anymore. It's fine. I have a job, and this job doesn't pay me, and I'm not asking for it to. In fact, I'm more convinced than ever that this has to be something that's done on a voluntary basis in order for it to be any kind of honest. Yeah, I want you guys to know that I'm doing this because I want to, and that's another big reason why I can't continue to do it if I'm not going to have some help from you. Larry Valet, Nicole, let's talk immediately after this. I can use the entire game industry. Yeah, so I'm actually exhausted, Larry. I have been not sleeping really well this week, and I really need to go to sleep. Let's talk tomorrow or later today. Is that cool? All right, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in, for listening to the end, for considering what I've said openly, and for in the past having listened to things that I've said. In many ways, Hex is unique. I have never been so attached to a community, to a crypto community that I've been embedded within. Yeah, thank you all so much. I hope you're having a great day. I hope you have a great Saturday. Bye.